I have been running animal shelters in New Jersey for 30 years now. In addition to that, I have my own nonprofit where I transport animals from Puerto Rico to stateside rescues, and that's been an incredibly busy effort for the last few years based on the natural disasters that are occurring there, and we've got some additional needs because of the earthquakes. I also serve as the vice president of the Garden State Animal Resource Team, which is a disaster response team, and I'm the director of the Hudson County Animal Response Team, which also does disaster work.
St. Francis Animal Center is, of course, a non-kill shelter. And I guess from what I read, that was not the same policy you guys had in New Jersey. Tell me about the policy you had on the kill policy in New Jersey.
I ran a very busy inner city animal shelter for about 10 years. And when I started working at that shelter, it had about between a 98 and at times 100% kill rate. I came in to stop that. So when I took over this inner city shelter, I actually started the first food bank for pets in the entire state. I started free vaccinations for low-income families, free spay-neuter for pit bulls and cats, which were the animals that we were mostly seeing coming in. And the euthanasia rate at that time was actually very low, one of the lowest in the state for any inner city shelters. After about 10 years, I was asked to take over another shelter that was really failing in an inner city area, and I left to go handle that shelter and implement the same successful programs that I had in the Jersey City shelter. During that time, a new executive director came in, and she decided that it would be a no-kill organization. It's such a noble effort, it really is. The philosophy behind that is to just stop euthanizing and the public will come. Unfortunately, what happened was because the dogs are, they're harder dogs, they're dogs that are there on bite cases, dangerous dog orders, vicious dog orders, the shelter filled up very quickly. And it soon ballooned to a population of 130 dogs with only 40 cages. So the shelter went bankrupt. They stopped vaccinating. 30% of their cats died on intake. 30% of their cats lived after 7 days. More than 60% died. Almost 70% died due to panleukopenia because of disease, because of lack of vaccination and medication. When the board of directors realized that they were bankrupt, the state was coming in to shut the shelter down. They asked me to come in and help. So I came in, I brought in the ASPCA, which is a national organization. We needed all hands on deck to try to address this. They had dogs living in crates in the boiler room. They had 16 dogs housed in a very small break room. Some of these dogs had not been touched in a year because of aggression. My first day there, I walked in to find that a dog that had a mammary tumor, it had ruptured. And the dog was in shock, and she was bleeding out. And when I asked if the dog was going to be treated or euthanized, they said, "We don't do that, we let them die naturally in their cage." So there was blood pouring from her ruptured tumor on the dog below her because they're just in these wire crates with no protection. And that was the kind of situation that I walked into. When the ASPCA came in and set up a triage for me, they behaviorally assessed 130 dogs in about 3 days. The ASPCA so generously provided this resource to me. We looked at the dogs that were deemed too aggressive, dogs with multiple bite histories. There were dogs at the shelter that had killed other dogs in the facility, broken out of their crates, and they were too dangerous to be housed. So we looked at that list. In a very short period of time, within 2 weeks, we got 90 dogs out to rescue, different rescue communities. We put rescue appeals out nationwide, and the rescue community just, stepped up and took difficult dogs for us. The remaining dogs were so dangerous that many of them had not been touched in over a year. There were a few dogs that I thought might be rehabilitatable. So even though they were on the list of deemed too aggressive by a national organization. I actually pulled several off the list, and we were able to get those out to rescue organizations that rehabilitated them and ultimately placed them. So there were some euthanized. They were really aggressive dogs that had done incredible damage to humans.
So when people found things online over the past few days where it said that you allowed euthanasia because of temperament, that's what they found.
Dogs that cannot safely be put into the public, that will maul a person, I struggle with that. To me, human safety is everything. The human safety is why we developed assessment programs. We want to make sure that the dogs we're putting out there are safe. Of course, there are dogs that can be managed, that have aggression issues, and then with the right trainer and the right protocols, and we will search to find that trainer for them. We will put those protocols in place. If there's a situation where it cannot be managed and the dog is so unpredictable, I'm not comfortable having that dog in my home or even in my neighborhood necessarily. So that, that sometimes tough decisions have to be made, and it kills us every time. It breaks our heart.
So some of the things people posted were from a long time ago, 14 years ago. I saw one posting. You're at a different shelter now. You've had 14 years. Has your views on euthanasia changed at all in those 14 years? My
own personal views have not changed, because no matter how many times we've had to perform that act, I would cry. It was absolutely the last resort anytime that had to be performed. The minute that you stop reacting that way is the minute you should get out of sheltering. Back in 2006, I was running a facility where our dogs that we were holding were for court cases. They had multiple bites on their record. They were not safe for humans. We didn't even have the space to be really an open intake facility, because all of our cage space were being used for dangerous dogs. Two of the shelters that I was contracted with to rehab, those shelters had live release rates between 95 and 99%. That is my history. That is what I focus on. Every single animal in front of me gets every single possible choice to get into a rescue organization if they need additional rehabilitative care, or into the perfect adoptable home. That is my mission. That is why I'm here.
I've run multiple shelters over the past 17 years, and just commenting that times have really changed in 10 years. And back when I first started, animals that came in with issues like FIV or LVLV, they were euthanized, and times have really progressed where now we are really finding homes for those animals, finding options, and really going to put the focus on every individual animal as an individual and giving them each possible opportunity.
And one of the things that people kept posting over and over was Ms. Dawson vetted by the board before she was hired? I mean, who wants to answer that?
Absolutely, yes, very thoroughly. We take our executive director decision very seriously, and we're very happy with our decision. We're excited to have Niki in the community.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Lisi, anything you want to say about that?
Yes, we were all in full support of Niki. We all interviewed her a couple of times. We had a phone interview, a long phone interview, and an interview that lasted for a day and a half, spent with her, and we support her fully.
But did anybody Google her name?
Absolutely.
And you saw some of these things that have been posted before,
yes.
And they didn't send up any red flags? Or
we did our research on them and researched the sources, and we're comfortable with what we learned.
All right.
You'll notice that in one of the articles it said that she was the acting director, and as she said, that is when she had been asked to step into a situation. She was just stepping into a situation that at that point in time she had no control over. She was just told that she needed to make it better, and she was working on making it better.